I give the floor to Mrs. Eveline Willems. So she's chair of the working group on animal welfare during transport of breeding swine for the European farm animal breeders. You have the floor, Ms. Willems, please.
Thank you, Chair, for the introduction. Good afternoon to all. My name is Eveline Willems and I'm a veterinarian and I represent FAP, which is the organization of animal breeders. I am honored and pleased to talk to you about our perspective on the transport of breeding animals and the alternatives. Next slide, please. FAP covers a wide variety of farmed animal species like poultry, pigs, ruminants, insects, and even the aquatic sector. One of our main goals is to work continuously towards a more sustainable breeding and reproduction sector that incorporates animal welfare during transport as one of its primary pillars. Next slide, please. We have provided you different fact sheets that explain our role in the sector, what animal breeding is and why it is important, the commitments of our members to improve sustainability of animal farming and how we transport our breeding animals. And you can find all those documents in the Parliament's website. Next slide, please. We speak about animal breeding, but what exactly is animal breeding and why is it an essential part of farming in the EU and globally? In the animal breeding sector, we continue the enduring tradition of selecting animals according to a predefined list of desirable traits. Selected animals become the parents of the next generation, and on average, the offspring will be better than their parents, and the breeds will improve on the defined traits. In modern animal breeding, responsible and balanced breeding programs are in place. Animal breeders focus on traits related to the quality and the quantity of production in combination with traits related to animal welfare, as well as animal health and sustainability. This includes longevity, robustness, reducing the carbon footprint and a lot more. Improving on all those traits together is essential for more sustainable animal farming. Although animal breeding is achieved differently across species, all sectors are similar in one aspect. The superior genetics produced by animal breeders must be delivered to farmers. And the options for how this next generation is delivered to the farms depends completely on the available reproductive technologies for the different species. And since I am an expert in the pig sector, we have decided to use the pig sector as an example today. However, FAP's team in Brussels welcome all questions that you may have on all represented species following this presentation. Next slide, please. Like most species, the pig breeding for genetic improvement happens at the nucleus level farms where the highly valued maternal and paternal purelines live. These farms are isolated away from other farms to minimize the risk of disease introduction. And these purebred animals produce the next generation that is moved to the multiplication level where different purelines are crossbred to produce hybrid breeding animals for farms. How and when we need to transport these highly valued animals is the focus of our message today. Like the cattle sector, pig producing uses artificial insemination to move the male genetics. Male pigs, and they are called boars, are transported from nucleus farms to regional semen collection centers. The semen is collected and distributed to nucleus farms, multiplication farms and commercial farms. And in the pig sector, we use primarily fresh semen because the cells that constitute pig semen are highly susceptible to freezing due to its composition. Next slide, please. Trait results in low reproductive success when frozen semen is used and makes the option non-viable in farms. As a result, the use of frozen semen is limited to special occasions, and the existence of regional semen collection centers producing fresh semen is a necessary reality. And nevertheless, the number of males that need to be transported is very, very low. In the case of the female breeding animals, many commercial farms are able to produce their own replacement females by maintaining a small population of elite females using elite semen for semen collection centers. This approach preempts the need for the transport of larger volume of female replacement animals. However, in the pig sector, not all commercial farms are able to create their own replacements, and there are occasional scenarios when the movement of higher number of breeding females must be transported to populate newly built or empty breeding farms. Depending on the scenario, these highly valued females are often transported internationally, using air or land transport. And like the transport of elite males, the female breeding pig populations that are transported must be handled with extreme care and attention to detail. Next slide, please. But I think we are now a couple of slides too far. I'm looking for the slide with the uterus on it. Yes, this one. Thank you. You will occasionally hear the suggestion that we can replace the transport of female breeding pigs with embryo transport. And unfortunately, this option does not exist due to technological challenges. Like frozen semen technology, the use of fresh and frozen embryos is neither technologically possible nor viable. The fact is, this method is practically impossible to implement at the moment. Due to the physiology of the uterus of a sow, which consists of two horns being incredibly long with an enormous amount of folds and twists, there is currently no technique other than surgery to collect embryos from a living sow. Besides this important limiting factor, embryo transfer in pigs results in very poor rates of fertility, and the embryos do have a very short shelf life. Freezing porcine embryos has not at all been successful so far, and the procedure is only used in exceptional circumstances. Unfortunately, this means that the transport of breeding pigs that have to be selected on the basis of their genetic value is a necessity. Next slide, please. In conclusion, breeding boars need to be transported to regional semen collection centers, and breeding sows also need to be transported from nucleus and multiplication farms to farms. Ultimately, the animal breeding sector is constantly looking for ways to minimize the transport of animals, whether it be through the use of semen from elite boars, the on-farm production of replacement breeding females, or the ongoing efforts to develop successful frozen semen and embryo transfer technology. Next slide, please. However, when we transport the animals, we are doing our best maximizing their comfort and well-being during the transport period through the use of high-quality transport vehicles and well-trained personnel. We are committed to protect the animals that we are responsible for, so that these animals will have a long and comfortable reproductive life that contributes to improving the sustainability of the animal farming sector. It is critical to note that, in addition to maximizing the immediate well-being of the animal during transport, animal breeding sectors are also very focused on maximizing the long-term well-being of the animal through good biosecurity during transport in order to keep the pig disease-free for its lifetime. Next slide, please. I will conclude adding that as animal breeders, we believe it is necessary to take a science-based approach to understand the animal needs for maximum welfare during transport and not be swayed by non-scientific perceptions. Only this approach truly serves the individual animal, and welfare requirements must also consider the specificities of the species and type of animals. Health and welfare concerns, including the need to offload animals and the real challenges to biosecurity and the long-term well-being of the breeding animals and their offspring, have to be considered. Next slide, please. Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the ANIT committee for the opportunity to speak here today on this important topic. I look forward to questions and would like to remind you that our FAP Director, Ana Granados, together with the FAP team, is always ready to respond and engage in dialogue with you regarding any other questions that may rise after today. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you for this presentation. So we know that there is a difference of treatment of the breeding animals and the non-breeding animals we see there. Personally, I never saw such a truck in, as you say, high quality. Nevertheless, it's stress anyways, always for the animals to be transported. But without losing time, I give the floor to